Hey guys, welcome into Faith and Football. My name is Neil and I'm always your host. Listen, we are 1 week, 1 week away from a lot of your drafts. We're about a week and 2 days, depending upon when you're seeing this, away from the kickoff of the regular season. That's right. Regular season football is about to begin. If you haven't got your mock drafts in, get them in as soon as you can. I know I myself am going through a 14-person league for the first time ever, and I've been cramming my mock drafts. Not too happy about the outcome, but I'm working on it. That's the whole point of practicing. So, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Down the bottom, subscribe, like, and share. I'd appreciate it. Uh, those who don't know the format, it's real simple. It's called Faith and Football for a reason, not football and faith. We put faith first, as you should always be putting God first in your life. No, I'm not an overly religious channel, but I am a faith-based, God-based channel with some football thrown in there. So today's, I guess, connection from my faith and my football is this. You've heard of, sovereign Jesus, the God of gods, the King of kings, Lord of lords, that he is the one, he is the only. But have you ever heard of sneaky Jesus? I was listening to one of the YouTube pastors that I like to listen to, Steve Furtick. If by chance this gets to him, hey Steve, love your work down here in South Louisiana. I love my church, and you're the guy that kind of supplements my weekly intake of the gospel. So thank you very much for your work. But he brought this, or kind of inspired me to bring this sneaky Jesus to this channel, and I hope he doesn't mind. But we see Jesus throughout the scriptures. He is kind of sneaky. He slips out of places where they're trying to kill him, they're trying to capture him. It's not his time, and he knows it, and he gets away. And he uses people that you really wouldn't think are any of importance. He kind of sneaks in. The thing that Steve Furtick brought up was he kind of, after the resurrection, he snuck out at night. He snuck out of the tomb at night. He snuck to Cleo and was walking with him, and nobody recognized him because he was disguised. Their eyes were covered. They weren't allowed to see. Well, it got me thinking, where else was he sneaky? And in thinking about it, I think it was kind of sneaky with the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman in John chapter 4, verse 4. It kicks off, but I want to skip down to verse 26, where, or actually, I'll tell you what, do verse 25. After he tells the Samaritan woman, everything that she's done, and how it's right that she has no husband, but she's actually had quite a few, and the man that she's with now isn't her husband. He knows everything, and he doesn't seem like the guy who's going to know everything when you first run into him. But this woman didn't see what he was, didn't see the true value in who she was talking to. But he enlightened her. He showed her the wow factor. Jesus, when he came, he was expected to come as a king. He was expected to come as a conqueror, and he came as a commoner. He was expected to come as a savior, and he came as a sacrifice. He was invited in when he did the first miracle, turn water into wine, the wedding in Canaan. He was invited as a guest, but he became a servant. And in this one, he came as just a regular guy wanting to drink, and that's what she thought. But he revealed so much more to her. The woman said, I know the Messiah is coming, the one who is called Christ. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. And Jesus looked at her and he told her, I am the Messiah. Now, the connection here, you're going to have sneaky picks every year. Every year, there's somebody that comes out of the shadows and just burst onto the scene, and you never thought that this guy would help win you a championship, that he would be the one to lead you to the quote unquote promised land of fantasy football, kind of the same way that this woman did not see what was right in front of her in Jesus Christ, the Messiah, the one who had come to save the world. But he didn't come just to save the present world of that day. He came to save everyone, everywhere, at every time, whether they were there, abroad, not born for centuries, it didn't matter. That's who was sitting in front of her, telling her everything that she had done. And I think that a lot of us today, we don't realize everything that's right in front of us, all the opportunities. We're waiting for that wow factor. We're waiting for that lightning bolt from above, that God's going to come in some great fashion, that every act, everything that's from God is going to come in this glorious package. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's going to come as, your wife telling you that, hey, maybe you really shouldn't eat that. And, you think that it's just her, trying to not have you eat that piece of cake that you really shouldn't have. But maybe it's God trying to tell you that you need to lose a few pounds because you're getting older, your heart's not going to be able to take you eating like a teenager anymore. Maybe it's your kids pushing you because you've asked for patience, which I learned long ago I don't ever do, because it'll come wrapped up like a teenager. So I stop asking for patience and just ask for guidance. So, but that's just me. But we think that this great thing is going to happen when we ask God to move in our life, and we don't recognize He's already moving. He's already moved. You just haven't caught up yet. You didn't see what was right in front of you. So today's episode is about sneaky picks, and I'm going to try to highlight some guys who you probably aren't thinking about later in the draft. But I want you to think about the number one person, or number one person that you need in your life, and that's Jesus Christ. So when you're going through your day and you think that you can't go on any farther, that that you've been abandoned, that you've been let down, that it's just not happening for you, or whatever it is, remember that God's still watching. He still loves you, and He still got your back. And more often than not, like the scripture says, He goes before us so that we may claim the victory through Him. So remember, whatever you're going through, wherever you are, whatever it is, God's always going before you to claim that victory. All you have to do is walk in faith to claim it yourself. I hope that helped. I hope it was a little insightful, a little inspiring. That's what I try to do, with God's hand on me. I'm not perfect by any means, and trust me, I come on here sometimes with a heavy heart, but I'm trying to do it because that's what I feel I've been called to do. So we got the faith part of Faith in Football. So now let's get the football part of Faith in Football. And before we do, as always, I'd like to welcome everyone in. And I need to give a shout out to my number one sponsor, Zia of Lafayette. You can find Zia down at 235 Ducey Road off of Johnson in Lafayette, Louisiana. They're right behind the Grand Theater, right in front of Red Laurel's. If you are in the Lafayette area, and if you are seeing this in the next couple of days and you go to Zia before the 31st, I want you guys to mention Faith in Football and tell them that I sent you. Get your free appetizer with your purchase of an entree. And remember, it's only good for a table not every individual at the table. Okay, guys. But the grits are amazing. The appetizers are to die for. You can get, the hummus, the shrimp, the ribs. They've got a slew of stuff that you guys can get. And I've said it before, you're going to get sick of hearing me say it, but I'll tell you again, the grits are off the chain. And if I could carry some around in my pocket, I could get so much free stuff in this town. It's not even funny. They are that good. So go down and check them out. Tell them I sent you from Faith in Football. Say hi to Tucker and Heath and Leonard and Andy and all the guys down there. Ask for me, and you might even get to meet me as well. So, or actually, I'll get to meet you because you're a lot more important than I am, because without you guys, I don't get any views. So down at the bottom, subscribe, like, and share for me so we can kind of build this thing up and get more people reached. Okay. So I do have to give a shout out to my boy Crunchy Tibbets. Crunchy Tibbles. Crunchy is in one of the leagues that I'm in Dynasty. That's my boy. He watches these all the time. I appreciate him greatly. What's up? And if you need anything down at the bottom, you know how to get a hold of me. Leave a comment at the bottom in one of the videos. If you got questions, we're getting ready to go into the season. I do help with start sets and try to keep you guys updated about who's in, who's out. And mentioning who's out, I do need to give a shout out to my boy. As you can tell, I'm a diehard Washington fan. So sad to say that my boy Brian Robinson was a victim of a carjacking earlier this week. So our prayers and thoughts go out to him, and I hope that everyone who follows this channel sends up a little prayer for him and his family. He was shot multiple times. Thankfully, none of them were life-threatening, and he actually could play this year. He was going to be one of my late-round picks in this upcoming draft. I've actually got two, one on Labor Day and one on that Tuesday. Unfortunately, I can't draft him. I would love to. Trust me, he was just named, pretty much supplanted Antonio Gibson as the lead back in Washington. And I would love to have got him in the later rounds because I think he could be an absolute game changer for my team. But we'll keep an eye out and keep you guys posted about his progress. But Brian Robinson, thinking about you, brother. Get well soon. So let's get into the sneaky picks. I'm going to pull up a old mock draft that I did to let you guys kind of visualize a little bit about some of the stuff I'm talking about. So let's see here. We're going to pull this up. There we go. So this is a 12-team PPR 8-round mock draft. Now, a lot of people have asked me, they're like, I'll talk to them at work, and I actually have my work draft coming up here shortly, and you guys are going to be able to meet some of the guys. I'm going to try to go live when we do our draft. Maybe not for the whole thing, but at least for a good part of it, because we're doing it right here on Sleeper. So look, I love Sleeper to death. They have absolutely phenomenal platform. All of their stuff that they do here is just off the chain. I love it. I love the site. I love the platform, and they listen to their users, which is awesome. I hope they keep that up for a long, long time. But like I said, I drafted from the forward position with this. Now in my work draft, I don't know what spot I'm going to be picking from. So I've done multiple mock drafts and multiple positions, so I can kind of get a feel for where everybody's going. Now, with this being a 12-team league, you see at the back end of the third round, your game changers, Mahomes, Herbert, and then when we come over here at the very first pick of the third round, which I went over this in a previous episode, we're talking about the game changers at the ends when you're the 12th pick in a 12-team league, where you have the number 1 spot, maybe the number 2, number 11, stuff like that. You've got to reach. You've got to get those game changers in order to make your team valuable for the season, or else you're just going to go in with a bunch of scrubs and you're going to get, obliterated by those guys who have those game changers. You got to get one or two. These first 3 rounds are really, really important. I only do 8 rounds, and guys have asked me, why you only do 8 rounds? Why you only do 9 rounds? I only do that because it's kind of hard to mock past the 8th or 9th round, because it just starts getting way too deep, and going against a computer as opposed to your league mates can be misleading if you let it go that far. Now, the computer's drafting on ADP. Your league mates are going to be drafting on impulse, on their personal feelings. And unless you know these guys, like you really know them, you're not going to be able to understand where they're coming from or what players they're going after. So that's something to keep in mind. The same way that you value different players, maybe not the same as someone else, the same holds true for everyone else in the league. Your opinion is not theirs, and their opinion is not yours. That's why you have to mock, and that's why you have to be able to pivot. And giving a shout out because of my wife, Pivot. So, honey, that one was for you. So, you have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to be fluid. What I listen to a lot of the fantasy footballers. If you don't, please go over there and subscribe and leave me a little message saying that you got their name from me. I wouldn't, just to let those guys know how much I like them. But anyway, they say be water. Okay. So you've got to be, water is fluent, water flows. It takes the route of least resistance. And in a draft, you have to be able to change strategies, sometimes mid-draft. Okay. So like right here with my number 1 pick, I had Justin Jefferson. Now, in my other league, I'm in a 14-team league and I have the 11th spot. I already know my draft position. So I've been constantly mock drafting the same position. The only problem is that being that late, I've got to be able to switch it up. And I've gone a couple of different routes. I've gone the route, as you see here on Team 9, they took Davante Adams. Now, me personally, I would have taken Jamar Chase hands down, no doubt, if that were me. Then he comes back around and he takes Mark Andrews. Now, here's the thing. Look at all of the running backs that he passed on. He passed on Chubb, Kamara, Jones, Williams, Zeke, Barkley, Fournette, Akers, Connor. Those last 3-4 guys, well, actually the last 3rd round, okay, whatever. But Chubb, Kamara, Jones, and Williams, listen, I'm not saying that they're, absolute stud game changers, but there's a world in which they can be. With this Mark Andrews pick, you're putting a lot of eggs in that basket, okay? And to come around and not take Lamar Jackson as your quarterback when you have Mark Andrews, not to get that stack, then that's it's kind of pushing it right there for me personally. Now, go down when we see that he takes Mark Andrews, he comes back, takes Justin Herbert, which I have no problem with. Okay. But when he comes back and doesn't take Mike Williams over Deontay Johnson, look, Deontay Johnson just had a shoulder injury. Me personally, I'm laying off. I don't trust the quarterback situation. And I would love to have that Herbert Williams stack, especially after last year when they just went bananas in the first part of the year. It was crazy. Now, remember, you're drafting for this year, though, not last year. You're using last year as a guide, not a rule. Okay. So, who do I want to go after in the later rounds? We saw a little bit about how to structure your first guys. And look, the first few rounds are easy. There a lot of times your league mates are going to make the decision for you. The guy who you want isn't going to be there because he got picked 2 picks before you. Then you're going to have a choice of, well, I can take this running back and I can wait on a wide receiver because there's a lot of depth at wide receiver after the third round. Okay, great. You keep going down. You get to the 7th round, 8th round, then things start to get a little muddy. So, who am I looking for later in the rounds as backups to add that depth that has a whole lot of upside? Well, at quarterback, I'm going to tell you right now, looking at Jameis Winston. I know. I'm in Louisiana, so somebody might consider that a homer pick, but I look behind me. I mean, do you see this wall? Do you really think that I'm going to homer pick anybody on the Saints? Come on. So look, here's the thing. We've seen Jameis Winston be awesome for fantasy. Eradicate from your mind, and I know it's hard to do, those 30 interceptions, because he also had 33 touchdowns. I get it. He didn't have that great of a interception to touchdown ratio. I understand. I get that you're nervous, but he's your backup quarterback. It's not like you're taking Jameis as your primary quarterback. If he sucks, you drop him. I mean, you didn't lose anything. But the upside for Jameis Winston on the contract that he has, with the amount of passing that this team has the capability of doing. I get that Sean Payton's not there, but Dennis Allen was with him for all those years too. There's a whole lot of continuity in New Orleans. With Olave coming in from the draft, you bring Jarvis Landry back to Louisiana. Maybe Mike Thomas comes back. Plus, rumor mill has it that they're looking at Gesicki at tight end. I mean, as far as coaching goes, you got a lot of continuity. Everybody basically just got bumped up. There's not a whole lot of new faces, not a whole lot of new system. So why not take the upside in a division where you got to play the Panthers defense twice, Atlanta's defense twice? That's at least 4 games where you're just going to ball out. Come on. So, Jameis Winston, you're going to have belief in Kamara and Olave. Okay? I have that belief. Now, who's being drafted around Jameis Winston? Well, if you look at the ADP as it stands right now, I just looked today on Sleeper. Drafted before Jameis Winston are guys like Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. Great. 2 second-year quarterbacks who have a lot of question marks. Drafted after Jameis Winston, Deshaun Watson and Mac Jones. Deshaun Watson ain't playing until week 11. Mac Jones, come on, this ain't Tom Brady, guys. It's not the second coming, and nobody's really happy with Matt Patricia right now in New England. They're just not. Their offense is horrible right now. They're trying to switch blocking schemes. It just doesn't look good in New England right now. This is not New England from 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's just not. So, if you're later in the rounds, you're looking for a backup quarterback, Jameis Winston, or this next guy I'm about to talk about, and I absolutely love this next dude, Matt Ryan. Yep, I said it. Matt Ryan. Now, listen, I know what you're thinking. He's a little older. He lost a little something. But let me ask you this. If someone were to tell you you had to have Carson Wentz or Matt Ryan, who would you take? Yep, I'm taking Matt Ryan too. And Carson Wentz is my quarterback. I would definitely take Matt Ryan over Carson Wentz any time of the week, any day of the week, and twice on Sundays. Maybe 3 times if they got a triple header, okay? Now, you might be thinking, well, where's your confidence here? Oh, I don't know. Michael Pittman, one of the highest drafted wide receivers in the league right now. Pierce, look, they brought this kid Pierce, the rookie wide receiver, in, and they look at him like another Pittman. These guys are going to smoke the competition. Not to mention that they have outstanding run game and a good defense. Now, you might be thinking, well, what is he going to do? Look, guys, Carson Wentz. You hear me? Carson Wentz finished last year with Indianapolis with the almost exact same team that Matt Ryan has. Carson Wentz finished as the quarterback 14. That's a high-end RB2. And this is your backup? Yeah, take Matt Ryan. It's okay. Who's getting drafted around Matt Ryan? Well, the same way that Winston had Watson and Mac Jones after him, Matt Ryan has Winston or Watson and Mac Jones right before him. Who are the guys after? Baker Mayfield and Kenny Pickett. You're talking about a guy who is a rookie, who isn't going to be playing every single game. They pretty much already named Mitch Trubisky as the starting quarterback. And I know that Mitch has a tendency to screw up royally, and he could go out in week 2 and just totally obliterate himself from the quarterback competition, and it's Kenny Pickett's team for the rest of the year. I get that. But then you got Baker Mayfield. I mean, do you want any of these guys right now over Matt Ryan? You've got a steady defense. You've got a explosive, possibly extremely explosive offense. There's no harm in taking Matt Ryan as your backup. Let's just say, sake of argument, you get, I don't know, Pat Mahomes, and then you go out and pick up Matt Ryan. Now, you're not going to start Matt Ryan over Patrick Mahomes. But what happens if Patrick Mahomes gets hurt? Have you seen the backup in KC? It ain't pretty. Okay. I would much rather be able to plug in Matt Ryan over anybody else if I've got one of those star quarterbacks that are high upside, supposed to be game changers, and then they fall out from under. Yeah, it's just the rug is pulled out from underneath them for the season. So, running back, real quick. I actually dove into this guy a little bit, and I'm a little nervous to say this, but Mike Davis. Yeah, Mike Davis is in Baltimore. Who's not in Baltimore? Mark Ingram. Don't have to worry about the goal line work. Gus Edwards, banged up, might not make week 1. J.K. Dobbins, banged up, might not make week 1. Go back a couple of years. Mike Davis in 2020, when he took over for Christian McCaffrey, finished in PPR as the running back 12. Guys, that's running back 1 upside. Now, he was a couple years younger, 27 to be exact. He's 29 now. But he is on a team that pretty much leads the league on a year in, year out basis in rushing. He's proven that he can pick up the slack if given a proper team. Now, I know last year in Atlanta didn't look so good. I get that. I'm going to chalk that up to a really bad O-line. If you don't believe me, go ask Matt Ryan, see how bad that O-line was last year. That's just me, though. I got faith in Mike Davis, if given a chance, could be a difference maker early in the season. Given it's not going to be long term, but if you get J.K. Dobbins, let's say 4th, 5th round in that dead zone, because you really need a running back, maybe you went wide receiver heavy in the first couple of rounds, and you pick up J.K. Dobbins, you're going to need somebody to handcuff him. Who better than Mike Davis? He's proven. He's done it before. My guess is he could probably do it again. So who's the other guy? Khalil Herbert. And look, it pains me to say this because I absolutely love David Montgomery, but they've got a new coaching regime in Chicago. David Montgomery could be on the way out. You don't really know. And he's going a little higher. So if you don't believe in the David Montgomery hype train, you might want to hop on Khalil Herbert. Why? Look, he's definitely got the talent. Okay. In the two games where he saw, I think 75% of the snaps or more, one was against Green Bay, where he absolutely just ran rampant, had an absolute killer game as a fill-in for David Montgomery when he was hurt. Then goes up against probably the toughest rush defense in the league last year with Tampa Bay, and he got over 100 yards on these guys. That's just crazy. There's no way that anybody saw Khalil Herbert going up against Tampa and just running roughshod over those guys. Nobody saw this coming. Okay. Now, if he's given the chance, I will tell you right now, I believe for the games that David Montgomery's going to miss, and he always misses a couple, Khalil Herbert, if he's not on your roster, will be the number one pickup that week, regardless of matchup. So, ran through quarterbacks, ran through a couple of running backs. It's time to get into a wide receiver. And I'm going to bring up a guy who's in division, and I really don't want to bring this guy up, but Wan'Dale Robinson, rookie wide receiver for the New York Giants. Look, I had a very simple note right next to this guy's name when I started looking at him. Who's left? Like Kenny Galladay's a shell of his old self. Sterling Shepard, while he just got activated off the injury reserve list, really, Sterling Shepard, really? Come on. And then you got Kadarius Toney. You remember? I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember this, or if I've got some seasoned fantasy football players watching this. But you guys remember that old game Operation, where you try to go in, you pull out the little piece without touching the sides. Kadarius Toney last year could have been that guy in the game. He had so many things wrong with him, it wasn't even funny. Okay. This guy had shoulder, knees, you name it, this guy had it. Okay. We're talking soft tissue injuries. We're talking joint damage, everything. Guy even had COVID for a game. I love Kadarius Toney. I really, really do. But I'm telling you, Wan'Dale Robinson, snatch him up, stash him on your bench, see what you got the first couple of weeks. If you got nothing, you got nothing. That's great. But at least snatch him up later rounds, some kind of depth to your wide receiver room. Okay. The Giants aren't going to be that good. They're just not. But I'd rather have 100% of a just absolute horrid offense than 5% of a really good one. That's just me. Okay. So who's my second guy? I love talking about this guy. I really, really do, because I love this team for fantasy. There's just so much potential here. The Mile High city of Denver, Colorado, with the Broncos and Mr. Unlimited himself, Russell Wilson, coming into town. Tim Patrick got hurt, so who's the next man up? KJ Hamler. Look, if you can go out and snag KJ later in the draft, go for it. Because here's the thing. What happens if Jerry Jeudy gets hurt? Then you're left with Sutton and Hamler. Look, Hamler played with some really crappy quarterbacks last year and did phenomenal. This year, he gets a Hall of Famer. Come on. He's given the opportunity. KJ Hamler is going to perform for you. Okay. Yes, he might just be a fill in, but If tragedy strikes, Judy goes out, Sutton goes out, either one of these guys get hurt, KJ Hamler is the next man up. Tim Patrick's done. He's out for the season. Forget about it. KJ Hamler is the next man up, and he is a burner. Okay. So let's see. Yep. I think that was about all I had. So, real quick rundown. And I want you guys to remember a couple of my other sponsors real quick. We talked about some pretty sneaky picks, some pretty sweet ones here, but my sweetest sponsor is Keller's Bakery of Youngsville. You're going to see my boy Dusty, who is taking over the family business. So congratulations, Dusty. You can find them at 627 Lafayette Street off the Youngsville Highway. Give them a call at 337-856-4449. You can also find them on Facebook, and you can order through Facebook as well. Look, the donuts are good. Everything's awesome. But if you need some stuff for your draft, if you're in the local area, go down there and see them. They can hook you up with brownies. And we're going to have a very special little clip that I'm going to send out here for Keller's Bakery. They're going to show you the upcoming cookie of the month. So make sure that you tune in for that. We're going to be going live on the draft day. So check him out. You can see Dusty. He'll be talking to you a little bit about that. But definitely go down and see him. And if you mention Faith in Football sent you, get you 2 free mini cupcakes with your order. Okay. So go down and see them. And look, y'all still liking the hair? Hair is still holding up. That's my boy Nick Reed down at Parish Aligned Barbershop. You can find them behind Charlie G's off of Ambassador Caffrey here in Lafayette. Give my boy Nick a call, 337-456-9062. Or you can go online and make an appointment. I'm going to be getting trimmed up here in a little bit, maybe not before the draft day, but shortly thereafter. So hopefully for my first start sits of the year, you'll be able to see the fresh cut coming courtesy of Nick Reed. So go down there, check him out. And look, you guys are listening to the podcast, you're listening to the channel. I hope that you're hooked up with the Ballers or the Fantasy Pros or some other outlet. But if you're looking for a thought-provoking, kind of whimsical podcast to listen to, yeah, it's whimsical, but it does draw you deep into thought. You can go and see my friends at the Victory Couch that's hosted by Rick and Julie Rando. You can find them on Spotify and anywhere that you find podcasts. They're absolutely phenomenal. They have a good banter back and forth. They've been married for a while. They're a really awesome couple and definitely faith-based. You can just tell. I know them personally, so go and check them out. Tell them that Faith in Football sent you. No promotion, but I just want to show them some love and send you guys over there to get a really good dose of an awesome podcast. So you got some drive time, tune into them. Okay, guys, that's what I do. Drive into work, put on the Victory Couch, kind of chill into my day. It's a good intro into a hard day coming up. So next time, we're going to be talking. Well, we're going to be coming up on draft day a lot sooner. I'm going to try to get one more episode out before the start sits. Kind of talk a little environmental roster management. So we'll talk a little bit more then. And until next time, remember, football's great, but God is greater. We'll see you guys next time on Faith and Football.